The arrival of the human. The night sky above the alien capital was never silent. Hundreds of silver ships floated in the air, their lights glowing like cold stars. The streets below were filled with thousands of strange beings, waiting for the words of their princess. A new decree had been announced, and everyone feared what it could mean. In the middle of the royal court stood a human. He was tall, his face showing both fear and pride. He had been taken from Earth without warning, a prisoner and a guest at the same time. He did not know why he was here, but the eyes of the galaxy were now fixed on him. The great doors of the throne hall opened slowly. From the shadows stepped the alien princess, her figure graceful and terrifying. Her crown of crystal shone with pale fire, and her voice carried through the silence like thunder. "By decree of my throne, a human has been chosen," she declared. Gasps spread through the court, some in shock, some in anger. Her words were heavy, and every ear strained to hear the rest. "This human must reproduce with my daughters," the princess continued. "Only then can the royal bloodline survive. Only then can our empire live." The words fell like a storm, leaving everyone stunned. The human's heart beat fast, his mind refusing to believe. He wanted to shout, to demand an answer, but his voice froze in his throat. The daughters of the princess stepped forward one by one, each different, each beautiful in their alien way. One had eyes like liquid silver, another had skin that glowed softly like moonlight. They looked at the human with curiosity, some with disdain, some with hidden interest. They too had no choice in this decree. The court watched in silence, knowing that destiny had been rewritten. The human clenched his fists. Back on Earth, he had lived a simple life, no one important, no one powerful. Now he was too old. He must father the heirs of an empire. The weight of billions rested on his shoulders. He whispered to himself, "Why me? Why a human?" But the princess seemed to hear his doubt. She leaned forward and said with calm fire, "Our laws, our science, our fate, all point to this truth. Only humans carry what we need. Only you can save us." The human's chest tightened. He wanted to run, but the hall was filled with alien guards. He wanted to refuse, but the eyes of the daughters held him still. One of them, the youngest, tilted her head and spoke softly. "Do not fear, stranger. We are bound as much as you are." Her voice carried sadness, as if she too had lost her freedom. The crowd outside began to chant, some praising the princess, others calling the decree a curse. Whispers of rebellion spread quickly. Many did not want human blood to join the royal line. The human felt the danger around him. Not only was he a prisoner of fate, he was also a target. Someone, somewhere in the shadows, wanted him gone. The princess raised her hand, silencing the voices. "The decree is final," she said. "Any who oppose will face my judgment." Her eyes burned with authority, but behind them was a hidden fear. The human saw it, the slight tremble she tried to hide. Why was she afraid? What secret was she keeping? The question grew in his mind like fire. The guards escorted him to the royal chambers. The daughters followed at a distance, their eyes never leaving him. Every step he took echoed like thunder in his ears. He was walking not only into a palace, but into a prison of destiny. He looked once more at the stars outside the window. They felt so far away, so unreachable now. Earth was gone, his past was gone, and only the unknown future remained. Alone in the chamber, he sat on the edge of the alien bed. His hands shook, his breath heavy. He asked himself, gain. Why me? Why human? The words of the princess repeated in his mind. Her decree was not just law, it was prophecy, and prophecies always carried secrets. He knew then that his life was no longer his own, but he also felt something else deep inside, a spark, a strange sense that his journey was only beginning. The night grew silent, but outside the chamber, hidden eyes were already watching him, and whispers of death moved through the corridors of the palace. The alien daughters. The chamber doors opened at dawn. Golden light spilled across the alien floor, lighting strange patterns on the walls. The human sat awake. He had not slept. Every sound in the night had carried danger. He knew eyes were watching, shadows whispering, and yet he waited, his fate too heavy to escape. The sound of soft footsteps broke the silence. One by one, the daughters of the princess entered. They moved like spirits, yet their presence was powerful. The eldest stood in front, her silver eyes sharp and cold. "You are the one," she said, her voice ablade. The others gathered behind her, each carrying an expression different from the rest: curiosity, fear, anger, even sadness. The human's heart pounded. He had expected monsters, creatures of horror, but what he saw unsettled him more. Each daughter carried beauty, but it was beauty not human. It was beauty strange and unearthly. One had skin that shimmered like crystal glass. Another's hair flowed like water, though no wind moved. The youngest's eyes glowed with a soft blue fire, full of sorrow, yet full of hidden strength. They stood in silence, studying him. The eldest finally spoke again. "Do you accept the decree?" The human swallowed hard, his voice caught between defiance and fear. "I never asked for this," he said. "I was taken from my world without choice." The daughters exchanged glances, some showing pity, others only contempt. The youngest whispered, almost to herself, "Neither did we." That single truth hung heavy in the chamber. The princess's decree bound them all. None had freedom, none had choice. The human realized then that these daughters were prisoners of destiny, just as much as he was. Suddenly a sound like thunder shook the walls. The chamber guards rushed forward, weapons raised. Outside the palace, angry voices cried, "End the decree, death to the human." The rebels had arrived, unwilling to see a stranger become the father of their future. The daughters moved closer, their faces tense. The eldest spoke sharply, "You must stay near us. If they kill you, our empire falls." The human felt chains around his heart. Not only had the decree trapped him, now it made him the center of every danger. He was both the key and the curse. The youngest daughter touched his arm, her hand cold yet gentle. "You are not safe," she said, "and neither are we." Her words carried more than fear. They carried hidden meaning, a warning, a secret. The human looked into her glowing eyes and saw something he could not yet understand. A bond, fragile but real, had already begun. The noise outside grew louder. The rebels demanded his death, demanded the princess cancel the decree. But the princess did not appear. Instead, she sent her daughters to guard him. The human wondered, why? Why would she trust them instead of her soldiers? Was there something she feared among her own court? The thought sent chills through his blood. The daughters led him through hidden passages in the palace, dark corridors filled with alien markings and ancient statues. The youngest whispered, "These halls are older than the empire, older than my mother's throne." The human felt eyes carved in stone watching him. He could not escape the feeling that everything in this place was alive, waiting, remembering. At last, they entered a secret garden deep inside the palace. Strange flowers glowed with silver light. Waters ran black yet clear. Here, the Psulpumdi daughters gathered around him, their faces serious. The eldest spoke once more. "You are part of us now, whether you wish it or not. But know this, not all among us desire your survival." The human felt the weight of her words. Danger was not only outside in the rebel crowd, it was inside the palace. Someone close, maybe even within this circle, wanted him gone. The youngest daughter stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. "If you fall, we fall too, so I will stand with you." Her vow surprised even her sisters. Their eyes widened in silence. The human looked at her and saw courage, fragile yet brighter than the alien stars above. For the first time since his capture, he did not feel completely alone. But even as that thought warmed him, a shadow moved in the distance of the garden. The human knew the real danger had only just begun. Secrets of the decree. The night fell heavy over the alien palace. But inside the hidden garden, the human could not rest. The words of the youngest daughter still echoed in his mind. If you fall, we fall too. It was not only a warning, it was a truth bound by fate. As the sisters stood in silence, the eldest spoke once more. You must know why the decree exists, human, she said, her silver eyes sharp as blades. The human waited, his heart pounding, for the truth that had been kept from him. The eldest began, her voice low, as if the walls themselves might listen. Long ago, before our empire rose, our blood was pure and strong, but centuries of power and war poisoned it. Our children were born weaker, sicker, dying before their time. The younger sisters lowered their eyes, shame passing over their alien faces. The eldest continued, Our healers tried, our scientists searched. Nothing could save us, until one truth was found. She paused, her eyes burning into him. Human blood carried what we lost. The words cut through the silence like fire. The human felt, his chest tighten. You mean, my kind holds the cure? He whispered. The eldest nodded. Not cure, survival. Only with human seed can our bloodline continue. The youngest daughter stepped forward, her glowing eyes filled with sorrow. We never wanted this decree, but prophecy and science together forced my mother's hand. Her voice shook. It is not only law, it is the will of history itself. The human turned away, his fists clenched. He had been stolen from his world, stripped of choice. Now he was told he carried the key to an empire's survival. He asked himself, was this fate, or was he only a tool? His anger burned, but deep inside another thought troubled him. If what they said was true, could he really turn away, knowing lives depended on him? Suddenly a strange sound stirred in the garden. The shadows moved again, darker than before. The guards were gone, only the daughters stood near him. From the darkness came a figure cloaked in black, voice sharp and venomous. The decree is a lie, the figure hissed. Do not trust the princess, human. She hides the real reason you are here. The sisters drew closer to the human, their bodies tense, their eyes glowing with alarm. The eldest shouted, Reveal yourself! But the figure only laughed. The truth will destroy you all, and the human is the weapon, not the savior. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the shadow melted into the night, leaving only silence. The human stood frozen, his heart racing. Weapon, not savior. The words twisted in his mind like a storm. What truth was still being kept from him? What was the princess hiding? He looked at the daughters, but they avoided his gaze. Even they did not know the full story, or perhaps they feared to speak it. The youngest placed her hand on his arm again. Do not believe the shadows, she whispered. They want to break you. But her trembling voice betrayed her doubt. The human could see it. She feared the shadow's words might be true. That night he was led back to his chamber. The guards returned, sealing the doors with alien locks. He lay on the strange bed, staring at the ceiling of silver stone. Every word, every warning spun in his mind. He was chosen by decree, bound by prophecy, needed for survival. But in the dark corners of the empire, whispers claimed he was a weapon. He did not know which was worse. His heart beat heavy with questions. Was he a savior or a curse? Why had the princess looked at him with fear hidden behind her crown? What was she hiding, and why did the shadows want him dead? As the silence grew deeper, he swore to himself, I will find the truth, no matter what it costs. And far above, beyond the glowing towers of the alien capital, a storm gathered in the stars. The galaxy itself seemed to wait for his choice. The humans' struggle. The morning sun rose over the alien capital, but its light brought no warmth. Inside the palace, the human felt the weight of the night before. The shadows had spoken, their words cutting through his mind like knives. You are a weapon, not a savior, they had said. And though he wanted to dismiss it, the doubt stayed inside his heart. The daughters entered his chamber again, their faces serious, their movements sharp with tension. The eldest spoke first, her tone like steel. Today you will be tested, human. My mother wishes to see if you are worthy of the decree." The human stared at her, confusion and anger rising. "Tested. I was stolen from my world, forced into this fate, and now I must prove myself too." The eldest did not flinch. "In our empire, nothing is given freely, even destiny must be earned." The youngest daughter looked at him with softer eyes. "You must endure, or they will kill you. If you fall, all of us fall." Her words carried both warning and comfort, and though the human wanted to resist, he knew she spoke truth. The guards led him through less corridors until they reached a vast hall. The chamber was circular, lined with alien symbols glowing faintly. High above, the princess sat on her throne, her gaze cold and distant. Around her, nobles and generals gathered, their eyes sharp with judgment. The princess raised her hand, and the hall fell silent. "Human, today you will face the trial of worth. Only then will you stand as chosen." The floor of the chamber shifted, the stone breaking apart to reveal a pit below. From the darkness rose a creature, massive and snarling, its skin burned with fire, its teeth like jagged steel. The crowd gasped, the daughters froze. The human stepped back, his body trembling. He had seen beasts on Earth, but nothing like this. The princess's voice thundered, "Defeat it, or die! This is the law of our throne!" The human's heart screamed in disbelief. He was no soldier, no warrior, yet they expected him to fight. His fists clenched, his breath short. For the first time he felt not just fear, but rage. Rage that they would throw him into death to prove his worth. The beast roared, its claws tearing through stone. The human grabbed a fallen spear from the arena floor. It was heavy, strange, but his grip tightened. The daughters cried out from above, their voices clashing with fear and desperation. "Do not fall," shouted the eldest. "You can win," whispered the youngest, her voice trembling like the edge of hope. The fight began. The beast charged, the ground shaking under its weight. The human rolled aside, the spear scraping the creature's burning hide. Pain seared through his arm as the heat scorched him, but he stood again, panting, refusing to give in. Each strike of the beast pushed him closer to the edge, but something inside him refused to break. He remembered Earth, the struggles of his life. He had survived hunger, loneliness, and hardship. Now he would survive this too. With a cry of defiance, he drove the spear into the creature's eye. It shrieked, thrashing, fire sprang across the arena. The human fell to his knees, exhausted, his body burned and bleeding. But the beast collapsed, defeated. The hall erupted with gasps and whispers. The nobles stared in shock. The generals murmured among themselves. The princess stood, her eyes narrowing. "You have survived, human. Perhaps fate did not lie." But the human saw it again, the flicker of fear in her gaze. She was not only testing him, she was measuring him. And what she saw unsettled her. The daughters rushed to his side. The eldest helped him stand, her face softer now. "You fought like one of us," she said, though her voice carried unease. The youngest placed her hand on his chest. "You were not supposed to live, yet you did. Something is changing." Her words struck him deep. He was no longer only chosen, he was becoming something more. That night, as the human rested, he could not sleep. His body ached, but his mind burned with questions. Why had the princess looked afraid? Why did the shadow say he was a weapon? And most of all, what was he truly becoming? Far above the palace towers, hidden in the dark skies, ships moved in silence, rebels gathering their strength, and in the heart of the empire the human knew his struggle was only beginning, the alien conspiracy, the human's wound. As from the trial had barely healed, his body still burned with pain, but his mind refused to rest. The words of the shadows echoed louder than ever. "You are not a savior. You are a weapon." He did not know what they meant, but he felt the princess feared the same. That night he was led to a secret chamber deep beneath the palace. The daughters walked beside him, their faces unreadable. The eldest whispered, "You must see what lies below. Only then will you understand." Her voice carried both warning and defiance. The youngest held his arm tightly, her glowing eyes full of fear. She whispered, "Do not trust everything you hear, even among us." The chamber opened to reveal a library of ancient knowledge, stone walls carved with strange runes, shelves filled with glowing tablets. In the center stood a great crystal, pulsing with light. "This is the record of prophecy," the eldest said. "Our ancestors left it for us, and it speaks of you." The human stepped closer, the crystal humming in his chest like a heartbeat. He touched it, and visions filled his mind, flashes of war, alien worlds burning, and at the center, always a human, sometimes as a savior, sometimes as a destroyer. The visions blurred, leaving him gasping for air. He pulled away, fear gripping him. "What is this? What am I?" he shouted. The eldest answered, her voice heavy. "The prophecy is divided. Some believe you are the savior who will save our bloodline, but others believe you are the weapon that will end our empire." Her silver eyes burned into him. "My mother fears the second truth more than she admits." The human staggered back, his mind spinning. He had been dragged from Earth to save a royal family, but now he saw that half the empire believed he would destroy them instead. Was that why rebels hunted him? Was that why shadows followed him? He was not only chosen, he was a thrall. "Eat!" The youngest stepped forward, her voice trembling. "I do not believe you are a curse. I have seen your courage. I have seen your heart." Her hand touched his, cold but steady. "You are more human than weapon." Her words stirred something deep inside him, a strength he did not know he had, but even as her voice calmed him, the sound of footsteps echoed in the chamber. From the shadows came alien generals, their armor dark as night. They bowed before the eldest daughter, but their eyes betrayed mistrust. One spoke with venom. "The princess hides the truth. The decree is a lie. This human is no savior. He is the key to our destruction." Another hissed. "We should end him now, before his power grows." The human froze, his heart pounding. The eldest raised her hand, silencing them. "You dare defy the throne," she said, her voice like fire. But the generals did not retreat. "Even the throne fears him. Why else test him with death? Why else lock him behind guards?" Their words twisted into his chest like blades. They were right. The princess had not trusted him, not truly. The human's eyes searched the daughter's. The eldest's face was cold steel, unreadable. The youngest looked torn, her lips trembling as if holding back truth. The human realized then, even among them, not all were loyal, not all wished for him to live. The generals retreated into the shadows, their threat clear. The eldest turned to him, her words sharp. "You see now, human. Our empire is not united. Half will fight to keep you alive. The other half will kill you before prophecy can come true." The youngest's eyes shone with sorrow. "Your struggle has only begun, and the danger is not only outside. It is here, inside these walls." That night, alone in his chamber, the human sat in silence. The crystal's visions haunted him. The general's threats consumed him. Savior or weapon, hope or curse. He was no longer sure which he truly was. But one thing burned clear in his mind. The princess was hiding something greater, something darker, and the truth would soon tear the empire apart. The choice. The alien empire trembled like a ship in a storm. Whispers of rebellion grew into shouts, shadows moved through the streets, and even inside the palace walls, trust was broken. The human felt the weight of every gaze, some seeing him as salvation, others as the end of all things. He was not only trapped in a strange world, he was now the center of a war he did not understand. The daughters stood divided. The eldest was firm, her voice unshaken. "You must obey the decree, human. It is law. It is survival. We cannot risk prophecy's darker path." Her silver eyes burned with conviction, but beneath them hid fear. The youngest shook her head, her glowing eyes filled with fire. "No, he must choose for himself. Forcing him will not save us. It will only destroy us faster." Their words clashed like steel. The human stood between them, torn by doubt. One voice demanded obedience, the other whispered of freedom. He felt both, the duty of billions and the hunger for his own choice. It tore him apart. Outside the palace, the rebellion struck. Explosions shook the ground, ships roared across the sky. The rebels shouted, "Death to the human! End the decree! Free the empire!" The palace guards rushed to defend, but the walls shook with fire. The princess herself appeared in the throne hall, her crown burning with light. Her voice thundered above the chaos. "Protect the human! Protect the bloodline! This decree will not fall!" But the human saw it again. The flicker of fear in her gaze. Why did she look at him not with trust, but with terror? What truth was she hiding? What secret burned in her heart? The daughters pulled him toward safety, but even among them the division deepened. The eldest forced him toward the throne. "You belong to the empire. Your blood must serve." The youngest pulled him back, her voice breaking. You are not a tool. You are not only prophecy. You are human. You must decide your fate." The human's chest burned, his breath ragged. The weight of two worlds crashed down upon him. Earth was gone, but its memory lived in him. Freedom, choice, the right to be more than chains. He looked at the princess, her face a mask of power but her eyes trembling with fear. He looked at the eldest, strong but unyielding. He looked at the youngest, fragile but burning with belief. And he knew his choice would change everything. The palace gates burst open. Rebels stormed inside, weapons blazing. The generals who once whispered in the shadows now revealed their betrayal. They pointed at him, shouting, "He is the weapon! Kill him before the prophecy comes true!" The hall erupted in chaos, fire, screams, and blood. The daughters stood in front of him, their alien forms glowing with power. Even divided, they still fought to protect him. The human's hands shook, but his heart hardened. He picked up a fallen blade, its edge glowing with alien fire. For the first time, he did not feel like a prisoner. He felt like something else, stronger, sharper, more alive than ever before. The rebels charged, the nobles screamed, the princess shouted commands. But all the human saw was the path before him. A single choice, a single truth, waiting to be claimed. Would he accept the decree and bind himself to the alien line? Or would he fight against it and risk destroying the empire? The weight of fate pressed down on him, but his voice rose above the storm. "I am not a weapon. I am not your slave. I will choose my own path." The hall froze. Even the rebels stopped. The princess's face paled, her crown shaking with fury. The eldest daughter's eyes widened in shock, but the youngest smiled through her tears. Her voice whispered, "At last, he speaks not as chosen, but as himself." The choice had been spoken, but the war had only begun. The rebels surged forward again. The generals raised their blades. The princess called for her guards, her voice breaking with desperation. And in the center of it all stood the human, no longer only prisoner, no longer only savior or weapon, but something new, something unknown, the one who would decide the fate of a galaxy, the final revelation. The throne hall burned with chaos. Rebels clashed with guards, flames danced across the marble floor, and the sound of steel echoed through the palace. In the center stood the human, his blade glowing with alien fire, his breath heavy but his heart unbroken. All eyes were on him, the savior, the weapon, the prophecy, but now he stood as something else. The princess rose from her throne, her crown cracked from the force of the battle. Her voice shook with fury and fear. "You were meant to obey, human. Your blood was never meant to rule itself, only to serve us." The human stared at her, his chest tight. "Then why did you fear me? Why hide the truth?" The princess's lips trembled, but her words burst like thunder. "Because you are not just salvation, you are creation. Your blood does not only save us, it remakes us." The words struck the hall silent. The daughters froze, their alien eyes wide with shock. The eldest whispered, her voice breaking for the first time. "Remake us? What does that mean?" The princess's face darkened, her voice lowering with bitter truth. Humans carry something we lost forever. The power to adapt, to evolve, to change. If your seed joins with ours, our line will not only survive, it will become stronger than ever, stronger than even I can control. The hall trembled with the weight of her confession. The rebels gasped, realizing their fears were true. The nobles whispered in terror, and the human felt his heart shatter with rage. So he was never chosen for survival. He was chosen for control. The princess had feared it all along. If he lived, her throne might fall, because the future would belong not to her, but to what came after him. The youngest daughter stepped forward, her glowing eyes wet with tears. "Mother, you deceived us all. You deceived me." Her voice trembled but grew stronger. "He is not our cage, he is our chance." She turned to the human, her hands shaking. "Your choice matters more than we ever knew. You can save us, or you can end us." The eldest clenched her fists, her voice full of conflict. "If he remakes us, who will we be? Are we ready to lose what we are?" Her words cut the air with fear, but her silver eyes flickered with doubt. The human's chest burned with fire. He saw the faces around him, the princess trembling with fear, the rebels ready to kill him, the daughters torn between loyalty and hope. For so long he had been dragged like a prisoner, but now the galaxy itself waited for his answer. He raised the blade high, its light filling the hall. "I was stolen from my world, stripped of choice. You called me savior, you called me weapon, but I am neither. I am human, and I will choose my own path." The rebels surged forward, but the daughters stood with him, their powers glowing. For the first time, they were united, not as heirs of a broken empire, but as voices of a new future. The human's choice was clear. He would not destroy, he would not obey, he would build. And in that moment, the hall erupted in light. The crystal of prophecy above the throne shattered, sending waves of energy through the palace. The rebels fell back in fear, the nobles collapsed to their knees, and the princess's crown crumbled to dust. The youngest daughter reached for his hand, her voice soft but filled with strength. "You are no longer bound by decree. You are bound by destiny, a destiny we will share." The eldest lowered her head, her voice heavy. "Then the old empire is gone, and a new one begins." The human stood tall among them, his heart steady, no longer a prisoner, no longer only human, but the first of something greater. The galaxy would remember this night, not as the fall of a prince, but as the rise of a choice made by one human, and that choice changed everything. The end. Enjoyed the story? Like it, and subscribe for more.